Yeah, let's figure out how Ubuntu entered the matrix. I'm also very interested myself in that, and thanks for coming here and in this big round of people. So thank you very much, and give them a big applause. And
thank you very much. My name is Michal. Here we have Gregory, Niels, and Merlin, and we are part of the Ubuntu Matrix Council, and Merlin is part of the Ubuntu Community Council. Next slide. Yeah, next slide. No, first, let's have a short poll. Yeah, I did. First, let's have a short poll to see how many people here are using Matrix, how many are using IRC, and how many of you are using both. Okay.
We're going to use our hands.
Yeah.
no, it's a...
This is
Yeah.
legally binding.
Yeah, we wanted to do it on Matrix, but then the results might be a bit skewed. Yeah.
You have to move your head up.
Sorry. Yeah, sure.
I was trying to sell me flow-pack neutrals.
Maybe we can go to the next slide. There's going to be another. Yeah, the QR code is here again. So a bit of history. Why did we need an alternative to the IRC and other chatting platforms? First of all, we are using all kinds of different platforms. For example, Canonical is using Mattermost. Other communities are using Discord, Telegram, Slack, Rocket Chat, etc., etc. There's a little bit of disjointed communication between groups, teams, and communities. So we figured that it was time to find something that we can all commonly use and that we can all commonly connect. Some of you might say, why not IRC? It works. It has worked for decades. The problem is that it might work for older folks or more traditional folks, but as you can see, even within Ubuntu community, the message count for IRC support rooms have been steadily declining. So, maybe next one. Yeah. So, why is IRC declining? We figure that it was mostly because of these three causes. Lack of modern features. Most people actually like sharing images, links, widgets, and occasional GIFs. It is kind of obscure to get started for newer contributors and newer members of the community. Getting push notifications, getting AFK messages, it's not ideal, let's say it that way. And there are pretty much no IRC users apart from Linux nerds. And we might want to embrace other people than us. Yeah. So we started our journey. I think that you recognize this XKCD comic strip. It's a little bit modified. So we are currently somewhere around here. We've got almost everybody on Matrix. There are some people that will probably stay on IRC until the heat death of the universe. So we cannot do anything about that, but we can still maintain a bridge to the IRC, so at least they can be somewhat happy. So why Matrix? Matrix is a modern chat platform, pretty modern, where you can use a single account to talk with multiple communities. I think that you probably all know that from the past few talks. And of course, it's open and it's open source, so that's a big plus. Other reasons, it's popular in Linux communities. A lot of other communities, such as OpenSUSE, Fedora, they all use Matrix, so we can already talk to them. It's similarly open to IRC, and there is encryption possible. We don't really recommend encryption in group chats, but that's for another slide. And there is adoption by some large players.
So I think this pretty much summarizes our experience and most people's experience with Matrix. It is a wondrous land, but here be dragons. One of the issues, and so the rest of this talk, basically we're going to talk about some of our issues and how we solve them or are trying to solve them within our community. And the first issue is that Matrix is an open federation. This is an advantage, but this is also a disadvantage because a lot of people come from different home servers, from different communities. They come join our rooms and they don't actually know our customs. Because of this, we are creating a culture inside of our own rooms, and we use defense and moderation for that. We basically all typical moderator actions, we basically divide them in two types of actions. The first type is defense. This is specifically about combating spam. The idea of defense is that this will happen very, very quickly. If you're spamming multiple images or not safe for work images, you will get immediately banned. Most of this happens automatically or automagically using a whole bunch of volunteers in the background. This is without mercy. You don't get a lot of ways to appeal such a ban because you've been spamming. And this is also without context, which means that we have a team of defenders who defend the entire home server. Some of these people actually are from other communities, and they simply, it's very easy, if it's spam, then it gets blocked, across the entire federation. Even if the user, for example, would be a user that has been a long time participant in a room, even if that participation initially used to be positive, they will just get blocked immediately. But this is only for spam. Then the second type is moderation. Moderation is basically coaching users to communicate better. We in the Ubuntu community, we have a very strict code of conduct. We have very high standards in terms of communication, standards that we have applied to our own discourse forum, for example, for a very long time, and that we are now also applying to Matrix. But this often requires actually coaching people, actually giving people feedback, allowing them to learn from their mistakes, and ensuring that people who want to improve, who want to learn, that they can improve. So this is a process that is very slowly. If you are a participant in our room and sometimes you use too foul language or sometimes you are too abrasive, we will contact you, we will work with you, we will coach you to become better part of our community. This is also a very manual process. Basically, each room has a moderator or should have a moderator that will just contact people when their behavior is not in line with our code of conduct. Failure is a teaching moment here, and this is always done by people familiar with the room tone. So some rooms will have a much stricter tone than other rooms. Other rooms, people can maybe banter a little bit depending on the room tone. And so this is always done with context, with the context of which room is this user communicating with. The second challenge of the Open Federation is that the internet is full of edgy teens who like to troll. Basically, Matrix has a very big issue of spam waves across the effort, across the federation. The single one project that helped us enormously with combating this is the community moderation effort, also known as CME. CME is perpetually working on a website to better explain what CME is, but this website is still not online, so I will explain it. I will try to explain it myself a little bit. CME is just a group of Matrix room admins, mostly of notable open source projects like Ubuntu, Fedora, Mozilla, privacy guides, and some people who are contributing to the Matrix standard and who are creating moderation tools. They have a shared ban list to fight spam. Only very, very clear spam. But when spam is detected anywhere on the network, anywhere on the network of all the communities who are connected via CME, they will be banned across the entire network immediately. And then there's some very, very strong bans, ACL bans, if an entire home server is deemed to be incredibly toxic, too toxic to just ban individuals from that home server. CME is also a community of all these admins who coordinate who coordinate defense during spam waves. And so we also coordinate on how to improve moderation tools, building moderation tools, and things like that. And the idea is that only trusted members can actually update this ban list, because this gives you power to ban someone across the entire network. Mjolnir and Draupnir, specifically Draupnir is one of the tools developed by some of the people of CME.
That's me. The automated spam response is mostly done by CME, and it works a long way for like the spam that Merlin described right now. But further of that, we had to like develop some our own tools for the community that work for us. They may work for others. The codes and links are here. Can get through some of them maybe. The first one is actually Ubuntu is more or less like a conversion of our old IRC bot with some added functionality over the time. So that's in most of our public rooms, the bot is there, does stuff, but also does some spam detection now, like if you spam like multiple images in a short time, and it also does a not safe for work check, then those images get redacted and you can't spam anymore for a few minutes. It's configurable. Synapse invite checker is actually a module for Synapse that more or less improves the limitation that people can invite you to other rooms, because part of the spam was they detected, hey, we can spam images anymore, but we can just invite people randomly to our spam rooms. And that's annoying too, of course. So this kind of combines the CME list with our own list that we can add home servers to that are blocked from inviting people. That only helps with people from our own home server, so every home server would have to implement that. The next one is the not safe for work bot. That's basically in addition to my do not spam nasty images stuff, which happened a lot actually. And if you want to get more into those Malbot is a framework to write easy metrics bots. We did at the last Ubuntu Summit, we did a workshop about that. That also goes into detail how to set up a bot and do some basic steps. We didn't have time to go to the whole workshop here, so if you're interested, please go there. The last challenge that everybody knows, I think if you use metrics in any way, is that I don't think there's too many clients. I don't think that's even true. There are just not enough clients that actually can do everything or most of it. They're spawning new clients all the time, but then there's, I don't have spaces, I don't have this, I don't have that. So nothing of that is complete. And varying quality and features, right? And to get rid of that, or at least a little bit, we decided to do documentation right from the start. Right, there we have a nice getting started guide online that for new users, they just get on there, they get a nice guide how to get onto the metrics. Because of those problems with the clients, we still recommend using Element just because it is the feature complete one, basically, at the moment. So we can, if you don't use Element, our guides may not be so useful for you because we have exact documentation how to use that client for our home server. Please come join our home server. We should have put a link on there, but I mean, it's ubuntu.com is our home server, so I think you can find us. We have a lot of tips in our documentation, basically. The link is on the side here too. And do not use encryption in public rooms because it just slows stuff down. For us, it makes no sense to enable it there at all. So just do it in the public room, and you get instructions on how to set up your private rooms, your public rooms, how you do moderation. Be careful with admin status. So all the little things you should be reminded of. Oh, that's over to you.
Thanks. So the documentation of Ubuntu and most of the canonical open source project relies on discourse. So it's pretty easy to document because you create a post using Markdown on discourse, and that post is then available as a documentation on documentation.ubuntu.com. But it eases a lot the work we need to do, and it facilitates contributions, reviews, comments, and we can iterate over the documentation and implement good documentation thanks to it. So the previous page was the Markdown, and this is the rendered Markdown discourse post into our documentation. So most of the discourse, most of the canonical open source documentation is done on discourse and renders that way. So the third challenge we faced is operational challenge, maintaining, updating, scaling signups the right way. And for that, Canonical uses a tool called Juju. Juju is an operator framework, so it allows us to create automation around operation of applications. Typically, I use the database example. You want to operate a database, scaling down, backup, restore, disaster recovery. The knowledge is spread into people, usually bash scripts. Juju allows you to code that in Python and do the automation. And we did that work for Synapse, and that's how Synapse is run into for the Ubuntu community. So Juju is an orchestration engine that allows you to create software operators, and it allows the integration and the follow-up of the lifecycle of your application at scale on any infrastructure, K8s, machine, cloud, on premises. And Juju relies on charms. So charm is an operator for an application. And it has all the business logic to operate properly the application and follow the lifecycle, backup, restore, scale up, scale down, and automate all that for the operator. So simple command lines, perhaps still need to be improved, but if you start from a K8s cluster with Nginx ingress integrator, Nginx ingress deployed on it, you can use Juju to add your K8s cluster to Juju. Bootstrap a controller. The controller allows you to manage the charms on your cloud. And then create a model. So a model is where you will put your charms and assemble them together in order for them to communicate and configure properly. Once you've done that, you can deploy your applications. So you deploy a database with 3 units. So you have redundancy. Then you can deploy Synapse with 3 units also, or 5 or 10 or whatever, depending on your resources and your need. The way the operator works, it will spawn a main process, generic workers, and a federation sender worker. You can also deploy, enable Mjolnir and such kind of features. Then you need to have your ingress. So you deploy an ingress integrator. It's a charm that will just communicate with K8s to manipulate the ingress. You deploy a Lego provider that allows you to get a TLS certificate through Let's Encrypt and using your DNS service. It could be any DNS service. Lego has a lot of integrations. And then you deploy Redis for all your workers to communicate with each other. Redis can be also scaled to 3 units or 5 units or whatever. Then you have a bunch of config to do. You need to configure your Synapse, telling it what's your home server, a few options, the base URL. You need to configure your ingress, also to specify the ingress class, the URL for the TLS certificate. Then you need to create some secrets. Juju has embedded secret mechanism. So you create your secrets to pass the token for your DNS provider so that the DNS validation is done automatically. There is a granting. You need to allow the secret to be read by the Lego provider. You configure the Lego provider with your address, email, and the plugin you want. I'm using OVH. And then you pass the secret ID so that Lego gets the access to the secret. And final step is allowing all these components to communicate together. So you integrate Synapse with Postgres. What will happen is behind the charms will create a user, create a schema, create the password, send it to Synapse without you manually doing it. So Synapse will reconfigure. Similarly, Synapse to Redis. Lego provider to Nginx to get the TLS certificate. And then the last one is Synapse to the ingress. And once you've done that, your application is available, exposed, Synapse is running. So it's the way we manage and we ease the operation of Matrix on our side. So few more features that we support. We have an S3 integrator where you can pass some buckets credentials and then relate your S3 integrator to Synapse for media, to centralize the media, or for backups. We also have backup and restore actions on the charm so that you can backup, schedule backups, and get your private key backed up and your media backed up, and the backup is encrypted also using an encryption key, so they stay safe. SMTP integrator to get emails. So the integrator allows you to specify credentials for your email account that your SMTP relay that Synapse will use to send emails. We also have Maubots feature that allows you to deploy Maubots, and all the authentication, application authentication configuration for Matrix will be done automatically by the charm. So it requires some configuration on the home server and on Maubot. This is done automatically. And we've worked also on the IRC bridge, as mentioned earlier, in order to allow IRC users to get into Matrix or vice versa. Few challenges. We get issues with the non-HA aspect of Synapse. Once one worker is down, one ends of your events and messages will be down, and your user will feel it. Big rooms is a challenge. It can kill your home server, eat up all of your resources. We got few downtimes due to people joining the Matrix.org room. You can forbid some complex room. There is an option in the charm that tells you if the room is too complex, you won't be able to join it. It's a challenge to know how to operate properly Matrix. The community helps a lot, but it's a lot of learning effort and back and forth and try and get there and fine tuning for the caching. Canonical as a corporate proxy. Federation and corporate proxy, the proxy don't come along together because you can be federated with any servers. The proxy doesn't allow you any outgoing or incoming things. So we had to fine tune a bit things. Basically, have a dedicated proxy for Synapse. And then we also have, as community and when Canonical employee leaves, some challenges in managing the room admins when they leave. Only the admin himself can demote. Only the admin can demote himself themselves. So if the user is not doing that, you need to use some API impersonation and demote them. If it's the last admin of a room, what do you do? So we developed some scripts, and I had some challenges here in order to manage properly leavers and admin in the rooms. Okay, so that was the last slide for that.
So in summary, we are slowly moving to Matrix. The entire Ubuntu community is slowly moving to Matrix. Many teams have already moved or are planning to move. We just heard that some team sneakily moved a few days ago without even informing us, which is great, which is how it should be. But some critical IRC channels might be bridged initially, partly to ensure that there is still something to talk to other people with when we have one of the robustness issues with our home server. If you go through our Ubuntu community space, it already has so many communities here. Ubuntu Chillin, Ubuntu Budgie, Ubuntu Mate, most flavors, kernel discussion, a support room with almost 2,000 members, a very, very active support room. However, many challenges remain, and we need to fix these challenges in order to have this as a reliable tool that our community can depend on, and then maybe in the future a reliable tool that Canonical itself as a company can depend on. because most of us here are volunteers. The Ubuntu's move to Matrix is a volunteer effort of the Ubuntu project, not of Canonical itself. Canonical itself is still using Mattermost until they feel themselves that Matrix is stable enough in order to actually move. There are still some open challenges. Server stability is a big one that we're also working a lot on. Gregory is working a lot on that. He is part of the Canonical team that does the operations for our Synapse. And then you have less helpful people in our chat say, yeah, but why do you join the matrix.org room? Everybody knows not to join that room because that always brings down your home server. And yes, but should it? Should we really depend on our users knowing that they shouldn't join certain rooms because then we DDoS our own home server? This isn't how it should work. We have the issue that Element is currently in maintenance mode. We do recommend Element to all our users because we have noticed that that's the least painful way to use Matrix. But Element itself is in Matrix mode with a whole bunch of bugs that do not get fixed. Element X is being developed, but it isn't actually ready for us. We need single sign-on, we need support for threads, we need an actual stable long-term support release. And then finally, moderation tools is incredibly limited. Even though CME is helping us a lot, CME is basically the reason why we are still on Matrix. They are basically unfunded or underfunded. CME has no funding. Draupnir itself is funded by NLnet, which is losing its funding this year, thanks to stupid decisions by the European Commission. Yeah, that's the result.
Well, the poll results. Well, it's obviously a good thing that we are not killing IRC because there are still 5 people using it. But more than 85% are already on Matrix. So I think that it was a good decision to slowly start moving towards that.
All right, thank you. And I'm not sure if you have time for questions.
2 minutes or so?
Is there one very urgent question? No, then we don't have time for questions.
There's one.